All right, everybody, welcome to Picklehead Podcast. On the podcast today, we have Andrea Koop. She is a lawyer throughout the week and then a pickleball player throughout the weekend. We're super excited to have her on the podcast today. So, Andrea, where were you born?
Wow, starting off with the hard ones. Thanks for having
Oh,
me on, guys.
yeah,
I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I don't I don't really turn off either self on the weekend or during the week. I think I'm a lawyer all the time and a pickleball player all the time.
perfect mixture. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So, obviously, with being a lawyer, extremely busy schedule, constantly, I don't know, I'm sure there's so many different cases that are going on at a different time. Hard to balance. I
Sure.
feel like that would probably relate over to pickleball well because with pickleball, we talked about it on our last podcast, but you have to like manage when to do a speed up slash when to dink. So like it's like the difference between ice and fire, right? So you have to know
I get what you're
exactly like
saying.
say that again.
I said I get what you're saying. I like it. We're really trying to tease it here.
How would you say being a lawyer has helped you with your pickleball game and vice versa?
I would say both tremendously. I don't rely on my pickleball income like to make a living because I'm a lawyer and I do okay in that front.
Right.
So pickleball,
100%.
everything I do in pickleball is gravy and it's super fun. Like it's still fun. It's still my hobby. Obviously, I really want to do well, but I've kept that mindset about it. I'm not sure that, I never want to find out, I guess. I'm not sure I would enjoy it as much if it was my full-time job. I admire everybody who makes it their full-time job, but I think that's a different kind of pressure that I'm happy I don't have to have.
Right. Why would you say that specifically? Is it because you enjoy being a lawyer so much? Or is it because you can be like, okay, I'm only playing pickleball half the time, so I don't have nearly as much pressure going into tournaments. I don't have to perform as well as people might think I would perform because I'm a lawyer half the time. I'm not prioritizing this like majority of the other pros.
I mean, it's both, but no, I would say more so that I became a lawyer in 2014 before I started playing pickleball. I'd already established myself as a lawyer. I'm not 24 years old right out of college. It wasn't something that I wanted to give up, and really good like life-changing, I guess, income that hadn't come into pro pickleball, meaning you could quit your job and make pickleball a full-time thing. We're not talking tennis money here, but
Yeah.
something that would justify not being a lawyer anymore didn't really come into it until I would say the last couple of years. And I just made partner in my law firm. I've put 7 years
Wow.
into this, and yeah, so it's not something that I would just want to give up lightly. I've worked really hard to get where I am in my legal career. So I think that that's more what it is, not necessarily that I love being a lawyer. I don't not love it. I think I'm pretty good at it. I've
Yeah.
just worked really hard to get where I am, and I don't want to just toss it away overnight. And I'm married, my husband and I live in Michigan, and both our families are here. And I don't know that if I was really going in full time all for pickleball, um, I would say probably Michigan is. We've had a lot of really good pro players start in Grand Rapids area where I'm from. Nobody stays.
Everybody leaves, huh? They
They
go to
got them.
Texas.
Yeah, they go to Texas or Florida or California or other places warm where they can go find really good play to get all the time. We have a great pickleball crowd here in Michigan and Grand Rapids where I'm from, but I wouldn't say we have a great like highest level pickleball
Right.
crowd.
Right. So 2014, you became a lawyer. You've been doing that. You just partnered not too long ago, became a partner, which is a huge deal. So obviously,
Mm-hmm.
going full time into pickleball, it's going to have to be a lot better deal than what you're doing currently with lawyer stuff.
I mean, like I don't have a bad deal now. It's a pretty good deal, but being a
Right.
partner in a law firm is like a 20-year deal, 30-year deal maybe. Going into pro pickleball, I like I said, I'm not 24 years old. I'm 34 actually.
Are
It's
you really?
different.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how long I could even really keep up. The game's getting younger. All these new great tennis players are coming in, which is so exciting for the sport. I'm always telling like my old college coaches, tell your players to play pickleball, start get them into pickleball. Like they
Instead
can
of tennis.
continue competing. No, uh, look, I loved tennis. I had a great time playing college tennis. I was on a really good team. We won in the NCAA's. I was, top 20 in NCAA most of the years. Really good doubles player. I loved it. I do my 4 years again. It was the best time of my life. But as good as I was in the NCAA, I was now nowhere near going pro in tennis. There's just so many. I mean, there's 10,000 people who play pro tennis and 200 of them who make a living doing it.
Right.
And if you
Yeah.
are ranked 20 in college tennis, I mean, you're really, really good, but you're not pro.
Right. Yeah. It's such a small margin too. Like you have to be top 200 to actually make a living out of it, which is insane. And I think it's very different from pickleball currently because pickleball is such a younger sport right now. But that is
Yeah, I
very
would
cool.
agree. Yeah, thanks. I would agree. I think it's also that when you finish college or when you're turning pro, that initial investment to become a pro tennis player costs so much money because you have to travel all over the world. It's not just in the United States. You're traveling all over the world to chase those points and like I said, competing with thousands of people for the
Yeah.
same points instead of hundreds like in pickleball.
Right.
So the initial monetary investment with all that travel and then the training that goes in for tennis. I'm sure pickleball will probably get there with the training. It's already professionalizing a lot more. All these young people are spending hours a day in the gym and on the pickleball court. So
Yeah.
I have no doubt that the training schedule is catching up in pickleball, but it's definitely up there in tennis.
Even within the last couple of months, it's crazy how much the game has just continued to shape. Like Colin Schick just shows up and goes and gets second in singles. And it's just like, holy cow, why do I even train? This guy just showed up from tennis and he's already this good. But yeah, no, it definitely is an interesting aspect. Last thing, and then I'm going to hand the time over to Spencer. Tell us just a little bit about your tennis. You said that you won some NCAA championships. We wanted to hear a little bit about your tennis because you're not a tennis hater now that you play pickleball. Some pickleballers are, like Travis Rettenmeyer. But tell us just a little bit about your tennis
Who
career.
also went to UCLA.
Yeah.
Travis is a Bruin. Go Bruins. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, I can't speak for him, but I think he would even say that tennis was a major part of his life and he wouldn't be where he was today without that background.
100%. Yeah.
So. I played for UCLA from 2007 to 2011. I mostly played number 3, but I played anywhere from 1 to 3 during my 4 years.
Cool.
In the lineup in tennis, there's 1 through 6 in singles, and then 1, 2, 3 in doubles. I mostly play number 1 doubles. My freshman year, my team, we won the NCAA tournament in 2008. So it was UCLA's 102nd national championship, like of all sports. So go Bruins. I believe that the school just won like 122. So 20 more since then. They won men's volleyball last week. So go Bruins.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, and I individually lost in the finals of the NCAA tournament in doubles my junior year, and I lost in the semifinals of the NCAA tournament in doubles my sophomore year. And my partner and I won it was Pac-10 then. That's because I'm old, guys. My partner and I won the Pac-10 individual tournament. I think it was my junior year, might have been my sophomore. It all blurs together at this point. And I won the singles Pac-10 tournament like my freshman year.
Where
Wow,
were you on the team?
Not a bad resume.
Pardon?
Where were you? What number were you on the team when you won your senior year?
I played 3 all season long. and we went into the year as the tournament ranked 7, like seeded 7. But we had our teammate, and she got injured early on in the year, so she didn't play all season long. She was a year ahead of me, was my doubles partner for my sophomore and junior year, and she played number 1 those years, so she's a great player. She came back right before, like right at the NCAA tournament. She hadn't played all season, came back for the NCAA tournament, pushed me down to 4 for NCAAs. She played 3, and she was a baller, and I did quite well. So I think we needed 24 points to win the tournament, and I think her and I might have accounted for half of them.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's
Good thing you got her back.
That's insane.
Exactly. I try to get her into pickleball, but she's a mom and pretty busy these days.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So I'm a dad, and I'm older than you, so don't worry about being old. I don't feel like I'm old. I feel like I'm a kid still, and I have 4 kids. So anyway, when did you find pickleball? When, where, how? Like what got you into pickleball? When did that transition go from tennis to pickleball?
Sure. So I finished school in 2011, and I went right to law school at Michigan State. Went to law school there from 2011 to 2014. And I didn't play any more competitive tennis during that time. Definitely didn't play any pickleball. Wouldn't have even known what it was. But I was still hitting a lot, playing a lot of tennis with local kids there who in Lansing area. That's where MSU is. People would pay me to hit with them. Some people who pay me were actually, this is like fun fact, Simone Jardim was the women's tennis coach at MSU at that time. And some of her players would pay me to hit with her, or hit with them. I'm sorry, not her. I didn't know Simone.
Wow, that's cool.
Didn't know her at all.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like 3 degrees of separation. So yeah, I was playing a lot of tennis with people who just paid me to hit with them, and that's how I paid my rent while I was in law school.
Smart.
And yeah, I got my job after I graduated. I moved to the west side of the state where I am now, Grand Rapids. That's where I got my job, and taught tennis, continued again, not competing, but just teaching on the side, and gave me something to do besides sit at a desk all day. And in the winter of 2017, I saw a girl that I had known from tennis as a kid. She was from that area, and she was back home visiting. She didn't live there anymore, but she was back home visiting, and she was going to be there for a long time. I could see it on her, like tell by her social media posts. So I sent her a message and was just like, hey, I live here now. Do you want to get coffee or something? Let me know. That'd be fun to catch up. And she responded, no, I don't want to get coffee, but let's play pickleball. And she sent me a YouTube video. And I totally remember thinking like, oh no, like I didn't know what pickleball was, but you watch it for a second, like this looks really silly and I don't want to do this, but I messaged her and now I kind of feel obligated. So
Right.
I did. I don't remember at the time, like, I don't remember if I loved it or not. I have no idea. But what I remember is there were all these people who were 25 like me, or I wasn't 25 then, but 25 to 30 were in that age range. And I didn't know anyone on that side of the state who wasn't a lawyer, who was, my age. So it was super, I guess, exciting to be like, oh my gosh, people my age who aren't lawyers. It's a big deal. The only people I knew on this side of the state were my husband and lawyers.
And then from there, how did you get into pro pickleball? You obviously liked it from the beginning because you kept playing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I had a good crowd of people, and I guess I just got better at it. When I started in winter of 2017, and it was I still had been playing a lot of tennis, hitting a lot of balls, and the paddle technology was way different then. You couldn't just pick up a pickleball paddle and play tennis with it like you can now.
yeah.
So I had to learn to dink, and everyone told me that you dink, you don't speed up. That's not how you play pickleball. And I guess I believed them then because that's how you played.
Right.
So I actually feel like I've been relearning the game over the last 2 years as it continues to evolve, because it's evolved 3 times since I started playing in 2017.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten faster. I mean, you started even when I started, and I think that was 2020, started playing. I think that's when the majority of people started playing was in 2020, but like it's evolved from there. I mean, you can
Absolutely.
see it's so much faster now than it was then, and you can attribute that to paddle technology. You can attribute that to more tennis players coming into it, even excluding singles. If we're just talking doubles only, it's obviously a lot faster than it was, which I think only benefits your game, to be honest. I mean, people are dumb to speed up to you, but I mean, it's coming back the majority of the time. So I've been following you. I'm kind of a more the like professional pickleball nerd. Austin's the better player.
Okay.
Um, Austin can go like practice with you guys. He's played with pros. He's 50 plus, right? I'm more like I've watched everything since 2020 and I feel like I know almost everything about everybody. And like even watching you from APP, like playing with Zane, I kind of miss those days a little bit. I feel like even then was a little bit different game than it is now. And that was
Right.
only 2 years ago. Where do you think it's going to go from here? Do you think it's going to get even faster? Do you think they'll put a stop to the technology so that it can't improve as much? I mean, what are your predictions as far as where it'll be a few years down the road?
I can't predict it. I know that if they don't put a stop to the technology, it will continue to get faster and faster. There's no way around that. Um, but whether the powers that be want it to, that's a different question. And whether it should is a different question, because I think what makes this game great is how inclusive it is. And if it continues to get too much faster, we might have like a crisis like racquetball did, and it'll stop being so popular. It won't be as fun for the lower level, or even not necessarily the lower level, but right now what's so great about it is the first time you play, you can play. People have fun right away
Yeah.
because they can play. If it gets too
Yeah.
fast and the technology makes it so that experience goes away, you might not have repeat customers, or as many repeat customers. And I think that's something that the game of pickleball, not at the pro level, but just in general, keeping people in, really needs to come to terms with and decide how they want to handle that issue.
Yeah. So they all need to get together, have a group hug and figure out what's going on, because a lot of people, I know that people call it mini tennis, and it kind of bothers me because I don't want it to be tennis. I want it to be pickleball. I want it to be separate. And I think a lot of people feel the same. Like, I love the game how it is right now. I'm fine with improvement, but I don't want to all of a sudden have strings on a paddle and then we're just playing mini tennis. We might as well go and play tennis. I like where it is right now. I don't want to talk about delaminated paddles because everybody's talking about that. So we'll save
You
that for
know,
another time. I'm gonna take a turn here if you don't mind. The KOOP Chant. So, quick story. When I first started watching you play, obviously it was on the live stream, and YouTube is a lot better quality now even than it was then, the live streams. I thought they were saying boo at first. I'm like, why are they saying boo every time she hits a good shot? Like, these people just dislike her, you know? And then I started to figure out, oh, they're saying coop, which is sick. For anyone that hasn't watched, it's kind of in that same tone. It's usually coop. So I want to know where that started. Where did the coop chant start? It seems to be everywhere, not just at specific, you know, locations. When did that start? Did it start with tennis? How did it start? And I love it. I want to know if you like it.
I have to like it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Coop is my husband's name. I mean, it's my name now. But even if when people refer to me as that, I always have to do a double take and make sure they're talking to me,
Right.
because all my husband's friends call him Coop. That's what they do.
Okay.
My name's Andrea. It's always been Andrea. And when people say that, even when I'm playing, it doesn't just feel natural. But it started at Major League Pickleball, the first one, when I was on the team with Ben and Irina. They started it. and I was actually on the same team BLQK, which I'm on now, and the same owner, Richie Toison, and he got into it, and he got the crowd doing it while we were playing, and I think it just took off from there.
Oh, it's definitely taken off. So,
Yeah.
so if you could give me a yes or a no, do you like when people do it or not?
Oh, sure. While I'm
Okay.
playing, it's great. It's totally fine. It's more when
Because I like doing it.
that's great. It's totally fine. It's more in general conversation when people refer to me as Koop. I'm like, wait, who are you talking about?
Yeah, you're like, what?
All right, another turn. I don't think this is just my opinion. You're the number 2 female doubles player in the world. If I was to, and you don't even play as much as the other ones. If I was the one picking, if I was a team owner, whatever, the only one I would pick in front of you, I'm being straight up, would be Anna Lee. The other ones are actually far behind you, in my opinion. I think you can win with anybody. I'd like to know where you rank yourself. Like, if you had to give yourself a ranking amongst the women in doubles, we're not talking singles, in doubles, mixed and in women's, where would you rank yourself?
I would put myself in the top 5 in mixed, in the top 10, or excuse me, top 5 in women's doubles, in the top 10 in mixed. Mixed is harder, but I think it also depends on the day. I think women's has gotten so much more competitive. That's what the PPA has done by having all of us, we're still missing a few, but most of us playing a lot on the same tour, and playing all the time. Everyone's getting better every day, and you're seeing different partnerships, which is so fun. So I love that. As an MLP player, like MLP is my favorite. I think I mean, I'm gonna knock on wood, but I think I'm a pretty good MLP pick. So we'll see what happens in July when they have the next draft. But I love playing MLP, and I think that I bring the best, and I do think I can play both sides. So that helps in MLP when you're drafting. You don't have to worry about, oh, I drafted X player, so my next female has to be a right-sided player, or has to be a left-sided player, because I
You
can play both sides.
Yeah,
And
that's cool.
that happens both. I think people forget about that. That happens with both men and women when you're drafting. Obviously, if you have the number 1 pick, you're going to draft Ben Johns or Anna Lee. You do what you got to do. And it doesn't matter you don't even think about it. But after a certain point, maybe your top 3 or 4 picks, you do think about it. Oh, I drafted X, so this person has to play the left. So my next draft or my next pick, when I come around to get another guy, I have to get a right-sided player. Like, for instance, if you draft Tyler because he's left-handed, or Rafa, you've got to find a left-sided player to match with them. It gets harder.
Right.
It gets harder when you're drafting because you don't know who's going to be available.
Yeah, and then you have to make a quick decision. All right,
Absolutely.
I'm also
Minute
gonna
decision.
beat a dead horse here. So if you had to pick, say, 2 women that you think are better than you in doubles all around, like who would they be? I mean, I have a couple in mind that are close to you, but honestly, you'd be my second pick. But who do you
Thank
think on your end?
Really think it depends on the day. Some people can play great, every day, or other days, but I don't know. This year, who's been better? Well, Anna's had some great results. Edda's had some great results. They can both play both sides, so that's a big deal. So maybe those 2. I don't know if they're better, but they're great picks. If anyone wanted to pick them up, they're great.
They're definitely not better. They're amazing players. But yeah, Catherine comes to mind too. I know you weren't feeling well when we were. I mean, St. George for us is a local tournament. Austin lives in St. George. I live in Vegas, so it's just a couple hours away. I know you weren't feeling well there. You played with Catherine. You played with Riley. I mean, for some reason, obviously Catherine comes to mind because she has the singles game too.
Great player.
Okay, I'm gonna stop beating the dead horse, but I'm saying it, and I'm not the only one saying it. Number 2.
Thank you.
What are your secrets for playing consistently well? Like, what do you do mentally, or specifically mentally or physically, to stay so consistent? I struggle with that. I know a lot of other people do.
I try to keep in perspective that it's just pickleball and it's supposed to be fun. And this next point is still just a pickleball point, regardless of how it goes. So when you start with that mindset, at least for me, usually I usually feel like I play well. The first few rounds are maybe where I'm a little bit more nervous because people, I find, especially the better I've become, that people play loose. You know, they have the, oh, I'm not supposed to win this match, so I can play the best I've ever played against
Yeah.
them. And that happens early on in the draws. And those are hard matches to play against. But if I survive those, I generally don't think that I've played, or once I get to the, you know, the meatier side of the draw, I feel like I always show up mentally because they're exciting. That's why we want to be here. You're not playing the pickleball tournament to be afraid of the outcome. And if you are, then why are you playing it?
That's really
That's
cool.
a great
I
way
think
to
that's,
look at it.
yeah, that's solid
Go ahead.
advice. I think it's interesting also because in the beginning of, like, when you're a high ranked player and you go in, these guys have nothing to lose, especially at the pro level. They have that, at least that mental aspect of the game, to say to themselves they have nothing to lose. You go down some levels and then people get in and they say, I'm playing the best player in my division, and they tense up. But that's interesting with the pro level. It's totally different. And I think a lot with the 5-0 level ish area as well. It's different with the mental game, them going in and playing loose. That was interesting to hear. Just going back a little bit, Travis Rettenmeyer was on our podcast a few weeks ago, and he talked about how there's like right-sided players and left-sided players, and how he has a huge problem with that because it kind of holds players back and it's holding the game back, in his opinion. What is your opinion on that? Do you think that there should be only right side and left side players, or do you think like a lefty and a righty? Or do you think there should be someone like you or someone like Anna Lee that can play both sides?
I think there's a time and a place for it all. I mean, no one's going to say that Ben is not the best player in pickleball because he only plays the left, are they?
No.
I wouldn't.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Exactly. So I think that it goes both ways. I know that Travis has some pretty interesting views on how to play pickleball, and he brings them probably from tennis. So if and when he shows that his views are maybe going to become the norm, we go with that. But I don't know if he has quite yet. Right now,
Right.
I think having right-sided and left side, that's fine. Like, I have no problems with Vivian David. I think it would be hard to argue that she is a top 3 right-sided player in women's doubles, like, and mixed doubles. I mean, she's fantastic over there. If you're thinking of a female right-sided player, Vivian David is who comes to mind. A male right-sided guy, Colin Johns, he's the best in the business, and you've
Who's
got
that?
to you've got to admire the skills that they bring, you know, in their craft. It's different than the left-sided player, but it's equally as important. Ben's not winning without his brother in men's doubles. I mean,
Yeah.
he might be. We never see him play with someone else, but you know, Colin's seeing a lot of balls. And I can tell you from playing against Colin, it's so hard to attack him. It's impossible, especially when he's on that right. He's so good at defending it, and I really appreciate what he's doing over there. It's a very high level skill set.
So it sounds like you're more on the side of until it's proven, but you're more on the side of specialize in your side and you'll be able to get a lot further in that aspect.
I think if you're probably doing it full time, for sure. The reason that I've developed both sides, if I'm being honest, is that I've never had a set partner. I've never played with someone multiple tournaments. I mean, Simone and I played with her last year on the APP 5 times, and playing with someone 5 times in a year is probably the most I've ever played with someone in ever since I've started playing.
Right.
And that's from having my full-time job. I don't commit a year out in advance like these other pros who have to, because it is their full-time job. So I've always been what I would call a pinch hitter pickleball player. I come in, fill in if someone needs a partner, or if someone got hurt or if you're deciding last minute to play a tournament. That's kind of before I was a PPA player, my MO. And when you do that, then you're mostly at the mercy of the partner you're playing with. They say, oh, well, play on the right or play on the left or do this. And I'm like, okay, I will. But for the first part of my career, I mostly played on the right because the people that I'd pinch hit for all wanted to be on the left. And even last year when I played with Simone, I started the year mostly on the right. And as the year went on, I moved over to the left. And the other partners, when I wasn't playing with her, I played on the left. And I guess, now I might say I feel a little bit more comfortable on the left, but it doesn't matter. You just, wherever my partner and I can have the best, I'll play.
She can play both sides, ladies and gentlemen, both sides. I think that's a really good asset to have, is being able to play both sides. I'm more comfortable on the left, but the last tournament that I played full right the entire time and did really well, and I loved it. So I think it's interesting. It's like sometimes we'll just get set in our mind and just be like, I am this. And sometimes we're not. We could be both, right? Or we could figure out that we like the other side more. I think the flashier side's definitely that. Flashier side's obviously the left side, and I think concept in people's minds is better player plays on the left a lot, but it's really proven, I mean, especially in this last year, that it's not the better player that's playing on the left side or the worst player that's playing on the right side. I think that is slowly changing, especially on the pro level. Quick question.
I think they're equally important.
Say that one more time.
They're equally as important. You can't win without either player.
Yeah. Can't play singles out there.
No.
Quick question. So you brought up Colin Johns is really hard to speed up against.
Yes.
Would you say between the two, him and Matt Wright, and maybe there's someone else that comes to your mind, but I would say between him and Matt Wright, who would you say is harder to speed up on their backhand as they move over?
Well, I think that's it's difficult because it's different. If Colin's playing the left in mixed, he's easier to speed up against than Matt Wright is. Because Matt's used to being on the left for mixed or just in general, more so. But when Colin is playing on the right, he's much harder to I would rather speed up against Matt any day, all day, 8 days a week, rather than Colin. Because he just knows his spot so well over there. And I've never played against Matt, in mixed double. He's never played on the right when I've played against him. So I can't comment on that. I know he plays on the right with Riley and makes it look pretty easy, but I've never experienced it in mixed doubles.
That's a good point. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I was just curious about that. We want to move on to MLP Daytona.
Sure.
This is where you guys shined. You guys got second place. Is that right? I don't want to be wrong here, but that's what I remember.
Yes.
Second place.
Yeah, we did. You
guys had an absolutely killer women's match, I believe, right prior.
Yeah.
Was that the match prior that was just the insane?
It was.
That was the match prior.
Yes.
Okay.
Against the fives.
Against the fives. And then you guys played in the finals against Pioneers, obviously. That match was insane.
We did.
That match prior was insane. Both matches were insane. But would you say that is the GOAT match in your mind? Like, best match you've ever played? Or is it different?
Maybe most recent best match I've ever played. It's also shorter rally scoring.
It's different.
And I would say the last 20 or so points of it were so exciting, just the way the format goes. With all the siding out I think we froze at 18-20 and it went on for 20-ish points of side outs from there. And those points were obviously exceedingly exciting for both sides, even while playing it. But I don't know if it was the best match I've ever played or even the greatest. Just different. Maybe the best MLP match of all time, but it's hard to compare apples to oranges between a 2 out of 3 game match and a MLP game to 21.
So let's classify it. Best MLP match so far. And I think in my opinion, it was, because it was just, every point had these just long drawn out rallies, but it wasn't just like dink, dink, dink. dink.
Yeah.
It was like speed up, smash, and everybody was getting everything. It was the most insane thing ever. So yeah, in
Yeah.
my opinion, we could go with MLP. It's the GOAT match. And then, I mean, none
I'll
come
take
to
it.
mind, right? None come to
Yeah.
mind
I can second that.
none come to mind as a GOAT match like that I can think of currently. I'm sure Spencer has so many in his mind. Like he said, he's like a pickleball expert since 2021. He knows everything that's gone on. So he'll be better at that. But we want to hear from you specifically with MLP, since it is different. Like you said, apples to oranges. How do you prepare for an MLP match mentally going in? And then we kind of want to hear how you prepare physically in general for your pickleball matches. Are you drilling a lot? Stuff like that. Starting with the mental question.
Mentally, every point in MLP counts right from the beginning because you can get points on
Yeah.
returning as well. And I actually like it. I mean, I'm a proponent for rally scoring. I run my own tournament, New York City Open, so I see the benefits why you would want it from a sponsor perspective, from a TV perspective, from a tournament logistics perspective, all of those things. So I think I already have the mindset that like rally scoring isn't the end all be all and death to pickleball. And then you've got to convince your players, and I can't be that way as a TD and not be that way as a player.
Yeah.
I really, so I like rally scoring. I don't mind it. I even like games, the game to 21 at LP. Like I think it's great. And for that format, it's wonderful. I don't know what the answer is for bringing rally scoring to PPA or APP events. I don't know if it's 2 out of 3 games to 21 or what. I'll let people smarter than me figure that out, but I like rally scoring. So I do think that eventually we'll get there in tour events as well, because it's just much better for TV. What do I do for getting ready for any play? Prior to about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I drilled like maybe once a week or so because we're doors and there's no court time. And
Wow.
I'm drilling with a 14-year-old boy because that's
Wow.
who I have to deal with around here. But between tournaments, I would say in mid-April, I think it was about mid-April, Leia Hansen moved back to Michigan. I say back because she lived here. She started pickleball here originally. So she's here now, I believe, through the end of October, during the good weather season between tournaments. So when I heal up, I'm a little injured right now, but when I heal up, I will have her to drill with me again, and we'll drill a few days a week, and I will triple, if not quadruple, my amount of drilling.
That's cool.
But
That's
during the
good.
week. Yeah, it is. It is.
So she's a snowbird, huh? Moving here for the good weather, moving there for the good weather.
You'd have to ask her for sure, but I know
Leia does what she wants.
she does indeed.
When she
she's
wants.
very unpredictable. I don't know, but I know that she started pickleball here. Like I think I might have played with her one of the first times she ever played. So I think she started in 2019, and we used to drill 3 or 4 days a week at that point when she first started. And then and like I said, in 2019, and then the pandemic hit in 2020, and she left because there's no reason to be here. She was in school or getting her grad degree, I think. I mean, again, this is her story. You'd have to ask her, but she left in March 2020 and hadn't been back since then. But I don't know why. She just, she missed us, I suppose. So now she's back for the good weather, and she says it'll be until October. So we'll see. I'm excited. Well, I'll take what I can get for practice.
Yeah, that'll be really good.
For
That'll
sure.
be really good practice.
It's crazy that you're only playing or only drilling once a week. I mean, I know. Okay, this is gonna sound weird. Again, I'm not a good player. I do feel like, me personally, if I'm not constantly on the court, I play a little bit better. I think when I'm constantly drilling and out there too much, it just gets into my head.
Sure.
And sometimes when I play a little bit less, I play a little bit better, but I don't recommend that for anybody. That's just how it works in my brain. But 2 quick questions piggybacking off of that. One, I know that Leia and Elise Jones are not playing together anymore. Do you have any tournaments at all lined up with Leia for the rest of this year?
No, we don't have anything for sure lined up right now. We might, there's some at the end of the year on the schedule that we're not sure if they're real tournaments or not. Real as in like they're on the schedule, but they don't indicate that we need to choose a partner. They might be choosing them for us or pairing us up. So we don't know
Okay.
if that's happening or not. But if those tournaments become air quotes real tournaments where we choose our own partners, you might see us together at one of those.
And then second question, you mentioned injury. I saw that you pulled out of Atlanta, so you were planning on playing in Atlanta.
I did, yeah.
Can you go into any detail of what happened, or would you prefer not to talk about your
Oh,
injury?
no problem. I got injured in the Newport final when I was playing with Anna a few weeks ago, and I separated cartilage off of my ribs on the right side.
Did you fall or?
No, well, as you guys know, I had been sick in Utah. I had a cough and I was coughing awfully for 3 or so
Yeah.
weeks. And, the intercostal muscles on your ribs, they're all connected. And I think I had just coughed them silly, if you will, and weakened them because of my cough. And I don't know. They say it's a common injury for baseball players, for torquing, for hitters. So I felt it after. It wasn't even it was just a return. I felt a pop after a return towards the end of game one in that final, and it just went worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And there you go. And when I got home, I had scans done, and that's what it was.
Saw that it was separated. Well, that sucks, but we hope you get better quickly. Do they have an estimate? They just say to rest for now, and
Yeah, it's just rest. They say it typically takes 4 to 6 weeks. So knock on wood, I'm hoping my plan is to be back for San Clemente PPA and then to play MLP. But hopefully I'll be able to start practicing with Leia again, maybe Memorial weekend after, the weekend after she comes back from Atlanta.
okay. Hey, let's talk MLP just a little bit longer, and then Austin's going to talk to you briefly about PPA. Maggie was absolutely awesome and surprising at MLP also. What do you think it was with your team chemistry? I mean, talk to us about, did you guys play much before the tournament? Like, what do you think, if you could name one thing or two things that really made your team mesh together as a team, especially you and Maggie on the women's side, what would you say that was?
So I can't speak for Maggie, but and I will clarify, Maggie is awesome. She was not awesome. She was not awesome. She is awesome.
Heck yeah.
Present tense. Yeah. I I've actually, before MLP Daytona, I had never played against Maggie. I'd never been on a court with Maggie. We texted with each other, but we'd never even played against each other before. So MLP Daytona was our first time getting on the practice court. But I think that our chemistry, it starts with our team owner, Richie Toison. He fosters an environment of, inclusion and fun, and results are important, I suppose, but it's not the end all be. And we feel that we have so much fun as a team off the court, and we just, MLP we look forward to it. It's so much fun because of what Richie does for us as a team owner, just makes it fun. And I think Fed and Dylan are really good friends off the court. They practiced all the time together. So that obviously helps. They're just always joking. You see Dylan, he seems like a really quiet person, and don't get me wrong, he is, but him and Fed together will joke, and they're just fun. And I think that, again, I can't speak for Maggie, but I think that just relaxed her, and she is a great player. So I don't know if she played any better than she already can, and we just brought it out of her. But her and Mary just had an awesome result last week at the PPA North Carolina, and her and Hayden have had some great results in the past, both at APP and at PPA and mixed doubles. So I don't think anyone should have been surprised by that, because she's proven herself prior to that to being a great player. That's why we picked her. That's why we picked her without me or her having ever been on a court together.
Yeah,
That worked
no,
out.
she's solid, and I've watched her play too. Prior to that, she got gold with Hayden in an APP sometime last year. I don't remember exactly which tournament it was, but yeah, she's a baller for sure. She and Mary are actually coming on the podcast next, so we're excited to talk to them.
Perfect.
But yeah, you mentioned the word relaxed. If you can somehow figure out how to play in a tournament relaxed, you can play so much better. And it's rare for me. Like maybe every third tournament I can be in a more relaxed state and I can play so much better, just not thinking about it. So one more question about MLP. Well, it's a two-part question.
Of course, they
What do
always
you
have.
think it what do you think it was that got you so far? We told Fed when he was on the podcast, he wasn't on our radar. Like he wasn't in our top 3 or BLQK wasn't in our top 5. But then all of a sudden there you are, I should say. What's one thing you would say that got you to silver? And then at the same time, why do you think you fell short just barely in that final match against the Pioneers, if you had to name something? What do you think the
Sure.
factor was there?
Well, I think that if everyone was redrafting today, the draft would look quite different. I think a lot of people maybe gave us flack for picking Fed in the 3rd round. And that was in December, maybe November of last year. But in what we were thinking was MLP is a 6 months long event, and he had already proven himself to have been so improved in the year or so he'd been playing. Him and James had been playing about the same amount of time, and I think people were way higher on James, at least for his doubles game and mixed game. And James is awesome. He's a great player. He wasn't available, so I can't say, whether we would have picked him or not, but he's awesome. And I just think that Fetty is proven that especially him and Pablo, they've had great results, and it worked out well for us having Dylan, who can also play both sides. He's obviously, people think of him as Mr. Right-sided player, but Dylan can play both. And him and Dylan together, I think they're a top 4 men's doubles MLP team. Maybe they haven't shown it yet, but I hope that they'll bring it out at MLP and San Clemente for their last hurrah, because they individually are, as good as they are individually, they should be able to put it together. I think they could be a top 4 men's doubles team at this next one. And then, again, Fed and Dylan are both awesome at singles. And I think somebody showed the stats. We had 3 Dream Breakers, and they won like 67% of the points they played at 1 and 2 in the lineup. So when that happens, they're giving us like a 13-4 lead before Maggie and I have to hit a ball.
Yeah, it's
That's
insane.
nice.
And his Fed's doubles game has improved a ton, even since, the original draft. And so I think a lot of people, in the second part of this year of the 2023 season, I think Fed will probably go even higher. And then what do you think is one thing that you guys were missing, or did you just get outplayed for that final match for the Pioneers?
So we played the Pioneers in the round robin, and I think it's okay to say that Ben may or may not have been asleep at the wheel in the round robin format of it. Dylan came out and played really well, and it was exceedingly windy that day when we played in the round robin play, but I'm not sure Ben had his best stuff. He definitely had his best stuff in the finals. He played great. So I think Ben might set the tone for his team, because you have the best player does. So we'll start with that. And then from an emotional side, we had about an hour and 50-minute break, and physically we were fine. But emotionally, after that win over the Fives, and the Pioneers had 4.5, 5-hour break, and we had an hour and 50-minute turnaround. We weren't ready mentally to play them as fast as we had to play them, if you will. And Etta and Megan came out playing a lot better. Again, the conditions in that, I would call it an indoor court in Daytona. The center court is indoors. It plays like an indoor court. So I think that suited their game a lot better than the windy, slower outer court conditions where we played them originally. So I think it was just a combination of factors, but we'll be ready next time. We're looking forward to playing them, all of them, in Southern California conditions where I think it'll equalize everyone.
That'll be nice.
Yeah. I mean, it could be windy. It could be, I mean, you'll see how that goes there, but we're rooting for you.
Thank you.
You obviously have a really good chance. You've beat them before, so keep that in your head, and we'd love to see a dub from the Bears. It'd be sweet. All right, go ahead, Oz. Sorry.
Okay, let's move on from MLP. Talk about PPA. So I watched this final. I watch a lot of pickleball too, but yeah, not nearly as much as Spencer. I watched you play with AJ against Matt Wright, Lucy Kovalova, and it was like heroes versus villains, like underdogs versus whatever the other thing is.
Okay.
Because I think
Matt
a lot
Wright
of
being
people,
the villain.
yeah, a lot of people view Matt Wright as the villain, and I'm sure I'd love him off the court, but on the court, I'm just like, man, I would not like to
I
play
think
him.
he embraces that role on the court.
He does.
I think
Oh,
he's
yeah.
okay
Right?
with it.
Okay,
I think he's okay with it.
that's good. He's seen as the villain on the court. I don't know how Matt Wright is off the court, but just to clarify. But yeah, it was definitely a heroes versus villains, and you guys pulled it out and played phenomenally well, did extremely well together. I remember in the post-match interview, AJ mentioning, oh yeah, she just told me to cut that crap out or something like that, because everybody knows AJ, he's going to throw out some random shot every once in a while, and maybe more often than he should, right? Your
I don't know if
presence,
it's every once in a while.
yeah, a little bit more often. Your presence on the court, are you more of the player that's going to like speak your mind, kind of like the Travis Rettenmeier, we could say? Or are you more so like not going to speak your mind as much? I don't know. Could you go into that, how you are on the court?
I don't think I'm quite as Travis Rettenmeier. He seems to have a lot of self-confidence in that, but I do recall that in the semifinal match of that Newport event, when AJ and I were playing Riley and Lindsay, I think I did tell him to stop taking my forehand dink when it bounces. Like, it's working, stop it. And rather forcibly. So that might be what he was referring to.
That was what it was.
Yeah.
It must have been that post-match interview.
Yeah, I think it might have been. When we had lost game 1 and we were down like 2-0 when I did that. So I was definitely a little bit frustrated too, because we had our chances. I don't know if that was what turned it around or not, but it's a good story now.
Yeah, it worked. It definitely turned it around.
It did.
So you and AJ played together in that. I don't know of any other tournaments that you guys have played together, but have you guys played together since? And do you have any plans to play together?
So we've played together twice since then and got to the quarters. We lost to Riley and Anna in Minnesota, and we lost to Jesse and Jay in Daytona. We were supposed to play at North Carolina last week and then in Atlanta, but I had to withdraw. So right now, no, we don't have any more future plans to play together. AJ's playing with Jesse most of the year, and they won. I don't know if they won Red Rock or got to the finals, but they, Jesse's, I think, at top
silver. Yeah.
She might be the second best or maybe third best, depending on the day's argument, mixed female in the world. So I have no qualms about AJ playing with Jessie, because that's just, you got to do that if you have the opportunity to play with somebody as good as her.
I'd rather play with you.
Thank you.
Well, what are your plans for PPA going forward the rest of this year? Who are you playing with in mixed and in women's?
Sure. I'm playing with a lot of different people. I'm playing with Jesse in San Clemente and Dylan in San Clemente for the next one that I'm playing.
Cool.
And then I think, the next one after that, I have Kansas City with Jade Kawamoto and Dylan. And then I have Cincinnati with Jesse and Christian Alshon.
I want to see KOOP Dylan. I'm looking forward to that one.
Vegas, I have Jesse and Dylan. And Orlando.
Shout out to Vegas. Sorry, go ahead.
Orlando, I have Vivian David, and I don't have a mixed partner. I had James Ignatowicz for a couple, and that was one of them. But now he has traded up, and I don't blame him at all because they're a great team. And yeah,
Hey, Spencer's available, so Spencer is available for
Okay.
that one.
Perfect.
If you want to play with you want to play with a solid 3-5, here I am.
Yeah, right. Spencer's better than he says he is.
Hey, can
So
we
you mentioned
sorry to cut you off real
Oh yeah,
fast.
go.
You mentioned Beer City Open.
Yep.
Talk to us about how that came about. I know it's a really cool tournament, what it takes to kind of to run a tournament and get the viewers excited for that. Tell them what's going on, when that is,
Sure.
what role you play.
Well, I am the founder and pro tournament director of the Beer City Open. I have a co-founder and co-tournament director, Paul Richards. Paul really does all the work. He is the hero behind the scenes. But we have our 6th year. We started it in 2018, and we're going to have over 1,000 players come to Belknap Park in Grand Rapids, Michigan this year from July
Wow.
20th through 23rd. And Boxcar Production. So Kyle Salenko and his crew are going to come and do the live stream. We have a great lineup of pro players. I'm playing with Jessie there, so she's coming to Grand Rapids. This will be her first time. I'm very excited. Leia and Anna are playing together. James is playing with Althoff, which will be just comedy central. Yeah, I think Dylan and JW are playing together. So we have quite a few big draws coming, and we're excited. We're excited to see it. And then yeah, our amateur draws, we sell out in 15 minutes. We fill out our 900 or so spots for amateurs. We have to shut it down in 15 minutes. So
Oh my gosh.
we're exceedingly grateful for everybody who wants to play, and I'm sorry to the other 3,000 of you that we couldn't get in. We just only have 20 courts.
That's crazy. Need more
Yeah, it
courts
seems
out
like
there.
a super cool tournament. Go ahead, Oscar.
Yeah. So we want to. Well, what I was going to ask you really quick before we move on, we're going to ask you about your grip and what grip you hold. But before that, you mentioned Christian Alshon. You're playing mixed with, and you're playing with Komodo. It's with a T.
Kawamoto.
She just came out of
close.
Like in my opinion, she just came out of nowhere, right? And she did really well in a tournament not too long ago. I was like, who is this girl? And she has a sister, I know,
Jade
as
and
well.
Jackie. Jade and Jackie. You never bet against a Kawamoto. Jade and Jackie have been very good for a long time. They just do not play that much. But
Okay.
I think any of us in the upper levels of the pro echelon know about the greatness of Jade and Jackie Kawamoto. They are defensive machines, and in the last year or so, I would say both added a lot of offense to their game, and it's really just even propelled them to the next level. So I'm super excited to get to play with Jade. We played one APP event together last year, and we won it. So hopefully we can have the same success this time playing on the PPA tour together.
Yeah, and she proved it in this last tournament in North Carolina. She did so well. I think that she got third.
That was Jackie. No, that was Jackie. But
oh, that was Jackie. Okay.
That was Jackie.
They have the same name.
But Jade proved it in Daytona. Jade played with Lacey in Daytona, and they got silver.
That was who I watched then. That was who I watched in Daytona. Yeah, they're both great.
Jade,
then. Holy cow. They could probably just play for each other because they look very similar to me.
They play together on they're on JW's MLP team. So they play together on JW's MLP team. And I believe last year, most of the events, they probably played 8-10 events last year, and most of them they played together. I think maybe Jackie played one time without Jade, and Jade played one or two times without Jackie. But yeah, they generally do play together.
Well, that'll be fun to see you guys play together. You know, if you're playing right or left.
With Jade, I'm definitely going to play left. She's a lefty.
Oh, she's a lefty, huh?
Yeah, Jackie's a righty.
Yep.
See, Spencer knows. So what grip do you hold, Andrea, to change subjects a little bit? What grip do you hold on your paddle? I'm sure you don't have a paddle in your office, but
No, I don't. I hold Eastern on my forehand and Continental with my two-handed backhand.
So you switch it with your left hand as you're hitting the backhand.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I move it maybe, a centimeter over for the backhand. I used to hold Continental on my forehand, but as the game's changed over the last couple of years to get more spin, I've moved my grip a little bit more over Eastern on the forehand side.
So how do you find the time to change grips? Because I know a lot of people are against changing grips because they feel like when they get in a hand battle, you're so close at that kitchen line, you don't have time. How do you find
I
time?
I think
What's the
that's
secret?
silly. I think that's silly. I think as the game evolves, there's going to be so much grip changing. They're already seeing it with the pancake things that people are doing and the Tommy. So that's even more extreme of a grip change than what I'm talking about.
Right.
But I come from tennis where I used to play with a full semi-Western. This isn't a paddle, but in tennis, a semi-Western looks like this, basically. So I've used to changing my grip inches over, not just a little tiny centimeter.
I played tennis in high school. I held a semi-Western as well. And then later on in high school, I actually switched my grip to Eastern because I heard Roger Federer holds Eastern. So I was like, okay, let's try it out.
If we got to do something the goat does. If it works for the goat, it's good enough for you, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the best idea to change it on my senior year, but I did okay. So that's interesting. Okay, so
Well,
you can change grips. I think it has a lot to do with as well. I know AJ changes grips with one hand though, because I see
I
him
know
do it.
that's really impressive. I don't know how he does it. I definitely use my left hand to, push it
Yeah,
over.
I feel like I could with my left hand, and I play defense on my left. So if they speed up, I'll have two hands on the ball. If
Sure,
if it's not a speed up, I'll do
On
a
the
one
paddle.
hander, which I
sure.
think you do. I know at least with dinks, where you're doing a one-handed dink a lot of the time. But yeah,
Yeah,
just trying to wrap my head around it. I know I'm a lot quicker if I have two hands on. So if they speed up the ball, I get two hands on there, I could definitely change my grip. But I think I
I
like
always
holding.
hold. I always hold ready in two hands, so it's ready to change the grip. My ready position's always two hands. So
Perfect. Okay, so we figured out you're holding continental when you are using your backhand majority of the time. Eastern for your forehand because that's going to put your paddle face down more, help you get a little bit more spin. Are you venturing into tomahawks or anything like that, going further semi-western?
oh
Have
my
you
gosh,
practiced
I
any
would
of
love
that?
to. I would love to, but that would require practice.
Yeah, which would require another pro being there. So good thing Leia's coming. Maybe we'll see it in the next MLP or the next
Yeah,
tournament.
maybe, maybe.
Okay, anything else from that segment, Spence, that you want to talk about?
Can we give you quick this or that questions?
Okay.
So just whatever comes to your mind, answer that way. You
Okay.
ready?
Yeah.
All right. Pickleball or tennis?
Pickleball.
UCLA Bruins or BLQK Bears?
BLQK Bears.
The beach or the mountains?
The mountains.
Dine in or takeout?
Dine in.
Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Night owl or early bird?
Early bird.
MLP or PPA?
MLP.
This is a tough one. Maggie Remenzi or Maggie Brasha?
Gotta go with my sister.
The Bachelor or Ted Lasso?
I've never seen either.
Okay. The Lincoln Lawyer book series or Harry Potter?
I like them both.
Have you read the Lincoln Lawyer book series?
I have.
It's legit. I got super into that. I'm obviously not an attorney, but it was fun. All right. Instagram or Twitter?
Twitter, but I have both.
Drive or drop?
Drop.
Two more questions. AJ Kohler or Riley Newman?
AJ.
Last question. This is lawyer related in a way. The Murdaugh trial or the Johnny Depp trial?
Oh, the Murdaugh trial. That was so much fun.
All right, Andrea. Hey, we really appreciate you coming on with us, talking to us two pickleheads. Appreciate all your time. We're excited what we learned. We're excited for the future, watching you. Where can people find you on social media?
They can find me on my Instagram, which is at @AKOOP_PV, or my Twitter, which is at Andrea Remenzi. Or I'm on
Awesome.
Facebook too.
Perfect.
Go find
Thank you
her.
so
Hey,
much.
thanks again for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I'll send you the recording.
Perfect.
All right, thanks. Take care.